I'll start with a disclaimer. This is a difficult video. It's a grown-up message for grown-up viewers with the ability to control their emotions. You might feel uncomfortable with the realizations you come to after watching this video. If you're not willing to go through this, do not watch it. Don't let curiosity disrupt the image of your world. This video is dedicated to a tiny minority of people willing to learn or expand their knowledge. Not everyone is ready for this message. Some of the truths might seem to be negative, but only to those who are not ready to learn. The lies can be usually seen with a pure heart and an open mind. The more you know, the more positive it will appear to you. This video's purpose is to help you and make your life better. It's not about presenting all existing lies to you, but it's more about making you aware that you're lied to all the time. I'll give you some examples for you to think about, but it's supposed to be just an introduction into the subject of truth. I've been collecting this information for more than a decade, and it could be easily turned into a 10-episode documentary, and we still probably wouldn't even scratch the surface of the illusion that we all live in. If you're a skeptic, I don't blame you. The scale and extent of lies is unimaginable and very difficult to accept. In fact, we're at a stage where the reality is stranger than fiction. If you believe in the existence of conspiracy theories, this video is also not for you. With everything happening around us, they're no longer theories. This video is a test of your open-mindedness, and I want to ask you to invest 30 minutes of your life and watch the whole video despite your skepticism, as it might help you with adapting to the changes coming in the near future for everyone on Earth. Please refrain from negative comments, downvoting, and disliking. If you feel compelled to do this, it means you're watching a video that is not meant for you. Please move on and have respect for the time and energy it took to make this video. You can argue, disagree, and reject some of the theories. That's okay, but it won't change the lies that govern your life. You don't have the luxury of disbelief anymore, as your current reality is literally made of evidence of these lies, and it's time you transform your doubt into comforting acceptance. I invite you to a discussion, as I do not have the monopoly on truth, and I might be wrong in some aspects. In fact, I hope I am. Even if not everything you will learn here is true, it will be still 100 times more real than the fake version of reality you're being told to subscribe to. People like me who know about the lies are constantly ridiculed, and the irony is that we're the ones who can save others. I'm not going to give you references, as this would require too much time. Everything I present here can be looked up, and there have been many books published on these subjects. In fact, they're mostly not my discoveries, and I'm presenting to you conclusions of other logical and intelligent researchers and scientists. Share this video with those you want to help. This video is copyright free. Use the link below and download it to make it available to everyone on your social media. There's also an MP3 link in the description for you to listen to in your free time. There are not many videos like this. This channel is extremely unique, and there are more videos to come, but I can only continue my work if you support this channel financially, as these videos are my full-time job, and I can only offer these insights to others through your generosity and with you expressing gratitude. Your support speeds up the awakening process. All the methods are listed on the screen and in the video description. Thank you for your help. Let's start by talking about what you need to know about the nature of lies. Your life is not yours. It was designed for you. Every element was carefully choreographed and planned a long time ago, and there is nothing organic about the seemingly natural evolutionary process of creation of everything around you. It is designed and controlled by a small, invisible group of people who try to force humankind to be a part of their vision. Yes, they're real, and the politicians you elect are not pulling the strings. You really do live in the matrix on many levels, but here we will deal with the informational matrix of lies you're stuck in on a daily basis. You need to know about their existence because we reached a stage where lies are decomposing our world and your life. You live at the end of the age of deception, and you need to understand that you're purposely and artificially kept at a mental level of a child living in the equivalent of intellectual Middle Ages. This deceptive house of cards is crumbling down, and the global situation we all found ourselves in is damage control as a result of us freeing ourselves from their intellectual control and us becoming independent. We no longer need to ask whether everything is a lie, but rather who's behind them and what's the extent of this exercise. It is time to ask and answer the question who we really are as a species and what is our purpose. You and future generations deserve to know the truth, as there is no possibility of conscious existence without healthy awareness of your environment. You need to know the truth because the inability to understand the lies can cost you everything. The resulting society's demand for conformity is the leading cause of pathology, anxiety, and alienation. If you live by lies, you live in a destruction mode. Your body, your relationships, your world, your society, they'll all be the price to pay. It's only when you see all the lies, it's when you're able to exist and function in harmony with yourself and your surroundings. Only the truth can set you free, and you'll not get there until you can see the illusion. Most of all, you need to understand the lies to see your future. Awakening and consciousness shift are impossible when you're running in circles, confused and frustrated. Humans are getting ready, and the truth movement is gaining momentum. We need to start waking up quickly before we still have access to free exchange of information. The window for accessing and learning the truth is also closing very fast, and if you don't educate yourself now, soon you might not have that chance. Every area of your life that is filled with lies will undergo a transformation. This is the end game of the centuries-long age of deception, both for us and for those in control. There will come a time soon when almost everyone will have no chance but to start awakening to what is going on, and they will desperately need guidance. Smart people like you who have had the time and the courage to educate and prepare themselves for the collapse of the matrix will need to usher the rest out of the world of illusion into the real world. It's a painful and brutal process, and the future of mankind's consciousness will be in the hands of informed people like you. You need to know about the lies because there is a huge revolution coming, an inevitable conflict between us and them. Educate yourself. Be on the right side of history, as you are now involved in unprecedented changes of our world. People like me are significant disrupting elements, and it's time there's more of us. I'm telling you all of this so that things can change, so that you can change. But why would you want to listen to me? There are a few reasons. I've already been through what is about to come. I grew up in a communist country surrounded by communist lies. At an early young age, I learned the mechanisms of deception. My world was first destroyed by utopian socialist propaganda, and then came the greed of ruthless capitalism. I grew up in an industrial city surrounded by coal mines, and these mines were at the top of the list for deletion of the global financial powers. It started with coal mines, and then it was done to all other industry sectors. The process had a full of hope sounding name of restructurization and resulted in controlled implosion of the whole economy nationwide, plunging everyone into an endless spiral of poverty and debt lasting to this day. I witnessed it firsthand, and I'm telling you this because the same group of people 30 years later is financially incentivizing today a similar process, but this time on a global scale. That's why it is worth listening to me. Before I tell you about the lies, I want to address two more questions. What is the reason for all the deception? This is a short answer: control and profit. The lies are the inability for those who pull the strings to control their ego, to get through to you with love and logic, to honestly ask you to join them in their vision of the world. This should help you realize the nature of their agenda. If it has to be done through deception and lies, you can understand how little value their plans have for us. How to know what's true and what's a lie? Look for censorship and ridiculing. People are silenced when they tell the truth or when they expose important lies. Look who it is you can't criticize. Research everything and don't take anything at face value. Recognize the patterns. See who endorses a given message and where it comes from. Learn to connect the dots and look for analogies. Humans as individuals have a lot of wonderful traits, and they're very powerful, and that's what my videos mostly deal with. In this video, I will concentrate on what makes them collectively such efficient believers in illusion. Those in control achieve their goals with their simple and primitive lies because they know the truth. They don't need to make much effort because they know us better than we know ourselves. They know what we're made of, and this is why only a few have access to the truth. One of the biggest lies has to do with us, humans, as we're not what you think we are. You're not as powerless as they want you to be, and metaphysically, you're an incredible entity. It is your physical form that is problematic, and you need to understand its limitations. The design of human body, although incredibly complex and wonderful, is inferior to most animals on Earth. If you were a flea, you could jump over the Empire State Building. If you were a shrimp, you could see the full spectrum of light. And if you were a dog, you could identify a chemical substance in order of its molecular weight. Whoever or whatever designed us did a lousy job. And while human genome is 700 megabytes of the most complex code there is, it contains more than 4,000 genetic errors with serious implications for all of us. If you were to look at us from an alien perspective, you would realize that there are two distinctive features about being a human: lying and constantly being wrong. The human mind is so conflicted that I can't even talk openly about most of the truths without many getting outraged here. I need to use disclaimers and self-censorship because it is easier to lie to humans than to convince them they have been lied to. From my observations, it seems that the biggest problem is low intelligence and lack of logic. Only close to 1 in 100,000 people have the IQ level necessary to understand the processes governing this reality, and that still won't grant them the ability to acknowledge the lies and accept them as true. Most humans are closed-minded with no ability to think in abstract terms and to analyze simultaneously two opposing or conflicting theories. It is because they are more emotional than rational, and this impulsive nature makes them collectively anxious, greedy, naive, ignorant, indecisive, ego-driven, and cruel. But worst of all, as a group, they're chaotic and disorganized without strong leadership. Together with the indoctrination efforts of those in power, it renders humans to be a submissive, obedient, and easy to control and distract hive mind. If you would like to understand what I'm talking about, watch the movie Truman Show with Jim Carrey and pay attention to how the main character is not controlled by any external force, but rather how he is kept in his place by a system of inner beliefs reinforced not by his ruler, but by his family and friends who collectively create a self-perpetuating world of lies and illusions. The most difficult part of human nature to overcome is the constant need for submission to authority and father figures, and allowing a handful of crooked individuals to decide about the lives of billions. Collectively, we have a very bad memory, and we quickly forget that this always results in us being victims and them profiting off of our suffering. Statistically speaking, only 15% of people can't be affected by mind control and propaganda due to a presence of DNA marker that is switched on by higher frequency of your thoughts, and this might be the true reason why your pineal gland is always the ground zero of every war waged on your mind. The fact that you're listening to me now means that you're in that tiny minority of healthy and open-minded individuals capable of shifting the course of history for the remaining 85%. All of them go through life never having a single original thought, and every time they're confronted with a new, unfamiliar concept, they're forced to react with anger and hostility. To accept any form of new idea, it needs to be translated with the use of already functioning structures and concepts by an authoritative figure. That's why true ignorance is the unwillingness to learn, at the same time religiously believing in illogical and unverified lies handed over by politicians, medical establishment, and legacy media. An average person raised in a deceptive environment based on lies develops faulty reality perception and analysis mechanisms that eventually won't allow them to understand anything that's happening around them, both by believing something that isn't and not believing something that is. Let's concentrate now on those lies that human existence is made of. We'll start from simple everyday issues like food. The nutritional pyramid that has been promoted for the last few decades to feed generations of people is in fact an upside-down version of true human nutritional needs. This lie has led to a global health disaster, with the US itself destined to be bankrupt in 20 years due to the cost of treating diabetes patients alone. Your grocery store has shelves stocked with lies. You're not being sold foods that are healthy, but foods that bring the most profit and have the longest expiry date. In fact, half of the foods that are required to maintain health are not even sold in supermarkets, and if you were to analyze what you fill your shopping cart with, you will find there grains, milk, meat, sugar, salt, and processed oils. Foods that should never be a part of your staple diet. But you would never know this because you're too busy counting calories, a fake energy unit that has absolutely no relevance to human body. The food labels lie to you with their pointless nutritional values based on the content of fat, carbohydrates, fiber, and protein. And according to them, nourishing and life-saving foods like mushrooms or watermelons have no health benefits whatsoever. You can't expect to learn the truth about this, as human health itself is a giant lie. The medical system today is designed not to cure you of your diseases, but to prolong a permanent state of sickness, or to make sure you die fast. Yes, in the name of profit, you're being medically poisoned until your immune system gives up. Statistically speaking, conventional medicine, with its prescription drugs and medical mistakes and malpractice, is the leading cause of death in the Western world. This is because the medical giants are lying about the nature of diseases for profit, creating a whole list of fake conditions for the purpose of medicating healthy people. The truth is that these multiple conditions doctors call a disease are in reality one condition: a weakened immune system caused by malnutrition and lifestyle toxicity, manifesting through a variety of symptoms. You're being lied about constant threat from bacteria and viruses, and no one is willing to explain to you that not only microbes make up half of Earth's biomass, but that there are 10 times more bacteria in your body than there are cells. You're literally made of germs that are kept at bay by a strong immune system. As long as you take care of yourself, they will have no environment to breed. You're lied to about the curing effects of chemical compounds, while cannabis and psychedelics, the most incredible medicine known to humans, are banned. You need to spend a lot of time to find any information about the strong correlation between high sugar intake and schizophrenia, but you're told everywhere that sun exposure is harmful and that it is perfectly fine to put mercury in your teeth, the most disruptive neurotoxin known to man, only 2 inches away from your brain. We have all accepted this lie of physical degradation and aging as an inevitable process, forgetting that there is no aging code in your DNA, and in theory, you should live forever. Any reports of people living for decades beyond the imaginary limit of 100 years are immediately labeled as a lie, like in the case of a Tibetan man who's believed to have lived for 256 years, and apparently he wasn't the oldest. Another big lie is the issue of death itself. Mainstream science conveniently ignores the fact that with thousands of reliable reports, reincarnation is now a scientific fact. Reputable scientists will lie to discredit anyone who offers irrefutable proof that some children are born with legitimate and detailed memories of previous lives. Every report of near-death experience is rejected as a hallucination of an oxygen-deprived brain or some other unscientific hocus-pocus. Today's knowledge is nothing more than an amalgam of illogical excuses and avoiding techniques for the unexplainable metaphysical nature of a rich and complex world that we deny its wisdom and beauty of. Science is made of people, and it is paid for, distorted, and manipulated. In the 19th century, so-called scientists stated that human body couldn't travel at more than 30 miles per hour without suffocating. A century later, the first flight of Wright brothers was claimed to be a hoax because of a widespread belief that objects heavier than air can fly. The same was claimed about traveling with the speed of sound. It is always the same story where important scientific discoveries are ridiculed and dismissed because they don't fit the current mainstream narrative. At the same time, pseudoscientists are used as an entertaining smokescreen and distraction from important, beneficial discoveries and technologies. Throughout history, people like Thomas Edison, Albert Einstein, Bill Nye, Neil deGrasse Tyson, and other con artists have been used to promote abstract pseudoscientific misinformation, lying to millions of potentially brilliant minds and dragging them away from the experimental nature of objective research and forcing them to regurgitate state-sponsored heresies. Anyone with a little free time on their hands can look into these theories and realize that they're propagating nothing but false assumptions founded on absurd imaginary theories, while the real scientists, like Nikola Tesla, are purposely omitted and removed from textbooks. The level of deception and misinformation is so high that literally anyone can start a social media account with thousands of followers and study or even stumble upon a well-hidden factual scientific mystery, like it happened in my case. It took me only a few months of discussions with other psychonauts to learn that humans collectively receive the same information from a place outside of this reality. You will not be able to learn about it unless you browse through pages of declassified documents of 3-letter government agencies who've been secretly studying and mapping the metaphysical dimensions outside of ours for at least half a century. They know that the physical nature of this reality is a lie. But you won't know this because we live in a social structure where one man can demonize psychoactive substance, effectively leading to a worldwide ban lasting for over 70 years, destroying millions of lives in the process and costing the world endless amount of time, money, energy, and suffering. Harry Anslinger was the politician who lying successfully lobbied to create a long-lasting prohibition on cannabis, leading to the emergence of black markets and a drug war that changed the world for everyone. The same type of lies and misinformation demonized and delegalized psychedelic substances in the 70s. countless generations of depressed individuals were denied access to the therapeutic and healing effects of psychoactive substances in the name of saving lives. Sounds familiar? Psychedelics are not illegal because the government cares about you, but because these substances expand your mind and allow you to see the lies of the ruling class. That's the true nature why any type of consciousness that is not related to consumption or production is banned in Western civilization, and that's the true reason why mind-altering psychoactive substances remain largely illegal. In general, every type of societal freedom is a lie. The illusion of freedom is beneficial because it increases productivity, but in reality, you're trained to fear true freedom and independence. You're free to do as you're told, and you're allowed to leave, but not to have real freedom. The interesting thing is that humans have the tendency to enslave themselves voluntarily with technology. Those of you who use devices like Alexa, Siri, Google, or even cell phones and smart TVs don't realize that everyone now is spied on through the use of closed captioning system. Everything you say in the vicinity of those systems is being voice recognized, transcribed, and uploaded as text to a remote server. Everything you say is stored and might be used against you at any moment. You accepted this in terms and conditions, and if you do anything that is considered a threat to the status quo, you'll end up in the next lie that society has been perpetrating mindlessly for millennia, the prison and punishment system. The criminal justice system we have is a lie. Its goal is based on a false and unscientific belief that punishment stops violence, when in reality, it is the most efficient stimulant of violence and the easiest method to turn a normal person into a permanent criminal. Study after study has confirmed that as far as resocialization goes, the prison system is a failure. If it worked, we would see no criminals left in the streets, but it doesn't do anything because it has been proven experimentally that punishment works only when it is applied immediately after the crime, when the perpetrator can create a mental association between their act and the penal consequences. The truth is that we run a pseudo-legal system of inefficient persecution instead of reconditioning. If we can condition people to listen to a lying government, why can we not condition people to be loving and caring? We punish those who need our help the most, kicking them when they're down, while they're the victims of the failures of social pathology they were unwillingly subject to. In most countries, people are in prison not because they're criminals, but because someone is making money on it. This system of oppression is supported by another lie, that society is made of intolerant, racist, violent, and dangerous people, while the truth is that it is constant repetition of this lie that creates them and makes society fight against each other. Just as a coal mine might be used and then abandoned, certain parts of society, so-called useful idiots, are lied to, used, and abandoned. The last US election was a perfect example of this process on both sides. The lies of division make us concentrate on anything that makes us feel different, be it race, sexuality, political views, religion, and so on. Our compassion and empathy is weaponized and used against us, creating a lot of internal fear. And because denial is the best remedy for anxiety, the biggest liars within a society are always the most scared and insecure ones. And all of this because we believe in another catastrophic lie, that humans as society require managers in charge, and what we have effectively created is a parasitic layer of social structure recruited from the worst type of liars: ruthless, egoistic, money and power-hungry social and psychopaths. The political electoral pyramid system is fundamentally a lie. As long as you choose a representative to govern a small unit, it works fine. But when these representatives elect secondary representatives to rule over them, the whole system becomes detached from the original unit, us, the society. And every action and decision taken by this pyramid scheme players is driven by selfish self-preservation interests of the top, opposing the needs of society who created them. Politics in reality is a scam based on electing the least painful system of oppression. Government in its actions can simply be defined as mafia, robbing, terrorizing, and exploiting the very people they're supposed to protect from evil. Almost all modern elections are rigged. Regularly occurring close-run results in big social units are a mathematical and logical impossibility. Every time you see fractional result difference, you can be sure you're witnessing a political manipulation. It is difficult to realize this because democracy itself is a giant lie. The fact that this system took over the world doesn't mean that it makes sense. It is a fake control system giving society the illusion of choice. It is a naive belief in collective wisdom of individual ignorance, where majority is told to make a decision only to be told what decisions to make next. How can you run efficiently a society where you implement a system dividing people into opposing camps? And why would majority be right in making decisions? The whole system is designed for the majority that doesn't have a significant impact on its own future. I've already explained the issue of average intelligence. The most creative and important social units are ignored, and they are the ones who positively shape society. Don't think that any other system is better. Every social concept that ends in ism is only a different version of a stock controlling and managing system and has nothing to do with freedom. I don't think I need to try and convince you that without mass media, the advertising agency of the government, there could be no effective propaganda. You're not getting news or facts, but lies in form of distilled opinions carefully chosen to shape your mindset. It is a fear-generating tool where you will not find any information about positive aspects of our life. Another element of the brainwashing system is Hollywood. Raising generations on its expensive and elaborate visual creations, it is a lie-spreading machine of unrivaled proportions. You probably don't know this, but Hollywood, and Netflix now, is lying to you by selling you only one movie. Almost every single film is the same story of transformation of the main character, with additional lies hidden in the seemingly different story details, where the viewer is subconsciously programmed to believe in a particular set of values that Hollywood finds desirable. They are generous enough to share with you the planned future events like in V for Vendetta, or even play with your imagination by explaining what the reality is about, like in the case of Matrix or The Truman Show. But even if you're not a fan of blockbuster creations, you're still lied to by every screen you look at through advertising. What most of us accept as a natural element of every visual message is in fact a lie used to force you to purchase what you don't need. Corporations sell their products and services by creating needs that initially didn't exist in you. The truth is that whatever valuable you really need, you will find without advertising and promotional materials standing between you and your real desires. They're separating you from fulfilling your natural urges and replacing them with satisfaction of acquiring worthless material goods. And that's how you discover the true rulers of our reality now. While democracy is a fake illusion of a system, the real governing power of the world today is something that can only be described as corporatocracy. You're in reality governed by a handful of powerful corporate entities whose income and budget rivals that of many nations. They are the ones who control the flow of money, power, and information. The problem is that if you were to create a psychological profile of a corporation, you would end up with a psychopath manifesting their narcissistic behavior through disregard to needs and safety of others, the inability to create a lasting relationship, failure to conform to social norms or to experience guilt, and so on. Which takes us to another giant lie, one very close to your heart, the lie of money. The designers of the system know that the more economically stressed a society is, the more delusional and obedient it becomes. The unequal wealth distribution is poverty by design. In fact, all poverty in the world is designed. We live in a rich world abundant in all we need to thrive as species and individuals, and hunger, poverty, or diseases shouldn't exist. The lie is that the money you have in your account or in your wallet are in reality made of debt. Your credit card is a lie of a life you can't afford, and the whole debt culture we live in is fake. You don't even know that your paper money has been worthless for more than 50 years ever since it was detached from gold standard. The financial problems we have today are not a result of few bad political decisions. They're a result of our blindness to the banking frauds happening for centuries. Stock exchanges are rigged, and the recent Wall Street scandal exposed it. Derivative and currency markets responsible for creating the illusion of economic growth don't actually produce anything of value in the real world. To make things worse, even Bitcoin, the poster child of our financial future, is a giant lie. A complex digital currency system that is believed to be a creation of a lone genius rebel is in fact a trial run for a global digital currency replacement coming soon. Also, if it had been valued at $1 million per coin, it would have been actually equal to the value of all global assets at the time of its creation. This lie is particularly important to you as there is a financial turning point of monumental proportions on the horizon an average person is oblivious to. The financial lies also include your tax rate that the government wants you to believe to be between 20 and 40%. The real taxation is hidden in the annual inflation rate outside of the state-approved inflation basket and the number of days you need to work to pay off all your fiscal obligations. It is currently around August time, which would indicate your true tax rate to be close to 70% instead. But have you ever asked yourself why you work 5 days a week, 8 hours a day to pay these taxes? Who and why came up with this system? This is another lie. It turns out that when monitored, humans work willingly and efficiently only for 4 hours a day, 3 to 4 days a week. The rest is busy work based on idleness and distraction. Current 9-to-5 system was implemented at the beginning of the 20th century for people like Henry Ford and the purposes of his car manufacturing plant efficiency. It was discovered that the 8 hours/5 day working week was the maximum you could squeeze out of a worker before they started getting sick from exhaustion. To this day, you're stuck in a system that constantly keeps you on the edge of mental and physical breakdown. It goes further. The fact that you have to work is a lie, and it should make you question why our lives are geared towards making a living when we already have the technology and infrastructure to delegate all our work to robots, freeing us from the struggles of day-to-day survival. All of these lies shouldn't come as a surprise given the state of our education today. The whole system is a lie and is designed to keep you uneducated for as long as possible, delivering a shamefully low-quality service to our young, knowledge-thirsty minds. Chronically underfunded and permanently neglected, it promotes the worst and most ineffective methods of acquiring mostly useless knowledge through memorizing and repetition. It is standardized and done in bulk, where people are grouped by age, the most insignificant criterion, and are educated about past, not letting you prepare for the potential future. It makes you specialized in only one thing, and its only purpose is to make you get a job. Something that can be achieved today without going through the state-sponsored indoctrination camps masquerading as teaching facilities. This archaic structure in its functioning is actually closer to a prison system than academic environment, and it's not a surprise that the most successful, most creative and influential people in our society are school dropouts. Since its main purpose is to keep you as confused and ignorant as possible, you can consider yourself educated and not understand that almost all of human history is a lie. Did it ever occur to you that there isn't a single person on the face of the earth who remembers where we came from and who we are? The lie about human origin is the main reason why you have so little respect for yourself, thinking that you're a meaningless speck of dust in an endless universe. You are not allowed to learn or teach that most historical catastrophes, wars and atrocities were planned, that the world goes through regular resets with the use of nuclear blasting, flooding and fossilization technology, that the history of humankind is only a few thousand years old, not hundreds of thousands or even millions of years, that the history of Europe is completely fake, with the enormous Slav and Tartar Empire completely wiped out from any map. You're lied to about America being founded and not discovered, as proved by a huge amount of photographic evidence showing sophisticated structures already in place, long before the settlers acquired any technology and resources to build them. The fact that the same incredible technically advanced architecture is present in every part of the world goes usually unnoticed by researchers and historians. What should we make out of the fact that you can find giant stones with internal structure of the human heart? What about all the artifacts, photographs and ancient reports showing the existence of giants roaming our earth before our civilization? What about dragon stories that exist in every culture? Why is it that most of our history is actually covered underwater? What happened that we're not being told? But if you ask me, the most difficult to accept fact is not that we're being lied to, with museums all over the world storing in their basements artifacts exposing the historical lies and being in reality vaults of hidden truth. It is the fact that we are literally surrounded by the evidence of these lies everywhere we look. After all, there are monumental structures in Egypt that have been baffling historians and researchers for centuries. No one's bothered with explaining how it is possible that to this day we don't have the technology to build anything even remotely resembling the Giza Pyramid. The ludicrous explanation of Egyptian slave workers chiseling out 2 million of 80-ton granite stones and transporting them magically 480 feet up in the air should be all it takes to wake up even the most irrational skeptic, as an undertaking of that magnitude is a logical, mathematical, and logistical impossibility. The lies about the purpose of these breathtaking structures were recently exposed when a British engineer named Christopher Dunn described tunnels inside the pyramid that used to be filled with acid, indicating that it is a power-generating complex. If you need more proof, just step outside of the pyramid and look at the randomly scattered unfinished granite stones with test incisions showing without a shadow of the doubt that they were cut with a speed of 1 meter or 40 inches per second. And what about the structures created with the same technology found in Mexico, Peru, Bosnia, China, Iraq, Iran, Indonesia, Cambodia, and Nubia? Why isn't anyone connecting the dots? And why do these structures change chemical makeup of a poison, making it harmless, and increase the productivity of seeds by 400%? But you don't need 10 acres of an impossible stone puzzle to know you're being lied to. Another big historic fakery takes place inside your mouth every day. The languages we use are one big lie, and that one I do know a lot about. I learned 6 languages in my life and I studied linguistics, and although you can burn the libraries and history books, you can't hide the historical truth embedded in languages that were created through centuries or maybe millennia of organic modification, revealing the origin, migration, and geographical location of its users. And the truth hidden in these languages reveals fascinating and shocking realizations like the one that German is an artificially created modular tongue designed fairly recently, indicating that Germany, or Swabia as it should be called properly, is in fact a continuation of the Roman Empire that never really ceased to exist. You will also see that English underwent a purposeful and artificial process of simplification not observable in other languages. By studying the roots of words in Latin, Hindu, Greek, or Polish, you will quickly realize that the official version of human history is a big lie hidden in the syntax and etymology of the vernacular of these nations. It reveals a completely different history of origin and movement of humans than we are told. On top of these ancient lies, those in control recently added a few new interesting reality distortions, and one of the most pushed on the clueless society today are the lies related to the environment. Almost everything you're told about Earth's system of natural resources is an illogical fairy tale that is playing on your love and care for the fragile biosphere of the Earth. It starts from the fossil fuels lie and the outlandish claim that its source is made of decomposing dead organisms deep in the ground. I worked in the oil and gas industry for years, and I can tell you that after decades of extraction, we know now that oil is the second most abundant liquid on Earth, and its supply is limitless and renewable. Its origin has nothing to do with organic matter. Just imagine how many of these poor dinosaurs must have died. And what kind of a process turns their bones into stone and flesh into oil? This liquid is constantly produced inside Earth, and we are told nothing about this process. The theory of oil depletion was created to rig and manipulate the energy market, and oil price is in reality regulated by a giant fleet of tankers on standby around the world, expanding supply whenever necessary. The price of almost everything you buy is affected by this manipulation. For a year, I also worked for the biggest wind turbine manufacturer in the world, only to learn that wind energy is a very expensive gimmick, having nothing to do with efficient green energy. These huge turbines with their constantly malfunctioning gearboxes, regular inextinguishable fires, animal habitat disrupting low-frequency noise and vibration, and giant non-recyclable blades quickly buried underground create much more environmental problems than benefits. They are political virtue signaling monuments of fund and resource mismanagement, producing minuscule amounts of energy that still needs to be transported from destined locations. It is the same story with the eco-friendly compact fluorescent light bulbs that are so full of mercury that they need to be treated as hazardous waste and are non-recyclable. So much for being eco-friendly. Another big lie we will all soon be affected by is the myth of the electric car. What most of us don't understand is that 98% of electricity is still produced by some form of burning fossil fuels. But in this case, it needs to be additionally transported and stored, creating a need for a huge, expensive, resource-consuming infrastructure. The cars are wasting up to 20% of energy in the process compared to regular cars. The car batteries are very dangerous, fail frequently with life-threatening consequences, and need to be replaced within a few years. Minerals required to produce these batteries are responsible for a lot of environmental degradation and worker exploitation. But the green lie is well on its way, and if you try to use your logic, you'll encounter a lot of emotional resistance from the self-righteous eco-brigades. And why wouldn't they react if you're constantly told the lie of recycling that was simply designed to deflect responsibility from corporate liability of producing huge amounts of waste? Did you know that it takes more energy to recycle a glass bottle than to make one? Did you know that recycled plastic is so brittle that it has virtually no application other than being a small part of another plastic product? And that the biggest lie is the safety of plastic, where it was discovered that the breakdown process of neurologically disrupting polymers is not 300 years as initially thought, but barely 50 years or even less, and that plastic molecules are destined to eventually end up in every living organism on Earth. One of my favorite environmental lies is that of overpopulation. Did you know that you can put all humans on Earth into the state of Texas and give them 2 acres of land for every person? The real lie is not in the number of people, but in their corporation-created lifestyles. Because to sustain our current habits, we need in fact 24 acres per person. The corporate consumer system of today makes you 12 times more in need of Earth's resources, and that's the truth about overpopulation. Humans are not the problem. It's the broken system that governs them. I think I'll stop now. It turned out to be the longest video I've ever written, and I can still have a list of subjects that I wanted to cover. So let's do a simple experiment now. You heard about all those crazy lies, truths, and theories, and some of them are interesting, some of them you knew, but I want you now to listen to these statements. Your tap water is poison, Earth is not a globe, Jesus never existed, climate problem is not really a thing, and the world is ruled by lizard-like creatures. What's that emotional reaction suddenly? These are not probable theories. Do you feel this sudden wave of outrage, resistance, and denial? Where did it come from? Is it because you researched these topics thoroughly, and in light of all the available evidence you came to a logical and informed conclusion that they are in stark contrast with the fabric of observable reality? Or is it possible that someone somewhere told you that it's not true and they made sure that you feel a certain way when you hear these statements? We can't possibly know if they make sense, but we can have an emotional reaction to them? How come? I think at this stage you get my point. If only half of the things I presented to you are true, you can now turn on the TV, look outside your window and ask yourself, how much of what you're now a part of is a lie? 10%, 20%, all of it? If your origin, your history, nutrition, health, medicine, freedom, society, politics, money, education, media and science are all based on lies, what lets you think that anything you're told about this version of life happening now is real? I could continue this video telling you why you'll never win that huge rollover lottery jackpot, how road speed bumps kill more people than save, how Elon Musk could not have sent a car into space, and why human monogamy makes psychiatrists rich. But I won't. Because it is not about the lies. It is about you. It is about what you see when you look in the mirror and whether you see a collage of worthless, lie-based opinions about who you are and what you look like. Do you allow the lies define you, or do you know that in reality you're twice as smart, twice as attractive, twice as wealthy, and twice as loving as the fake world around you allows you to think? Do you let yourself to be seen and defined through the eyes of others? The same lost people who can't be convinced about the existence of the most basic rules governing this world. With so many lies, you're left with practically nothing stable, and the only source that can be trusted is located within. You don't need to be an element of someone's agenda. Your life belongs to you, and you decide what you subscribe to and what is inside of you. But once you find out who you are, what you're made of, and what the world around consists of, it will be your responsibility to help others. The biggest threat to the matrix of lies is the conscious and educated little guy like you and me, because we can wake up the sleeping masses with our knowledge and our courage. An awakened society is impossible to control, and mass non-compliance is the most powerful defense mechanism against enslavement. Don't be afraid to spread the truth and identify these lies for others. After all we have is each other, and that's who we need to take care of. The more uncivilized the man, the more convinced he is that he precisely knows what is right. The truly civilized man is always skeptical, open-minded, and tolerant. Gain the understanding of the natural order inside and outside so that you can live in harmony with it. Think it's not illegal yet. Why is every creation in this reality governed by a mathematical code, an algorithm, golden ratio, defined number? Why are the mind-expanding properties of psychedelics so important to these in control that they need to be banned, stifling human potential when we can do so much more? Levitation, telepathy, manifesting matter, why are the metaphysical properties of this reality hidden from you? Your only superpower and the only purpose of your existence might be learning the truth about this reality. What's the point of living a life made of repeating the same lie over and over again when you can escape this matrix of lies intact? And by intact, I mean with your dignity, strength, and the understanding that you can avoid acknowledging the lies, but you can't avoid the consequences of living a fake life made of lies. It is worth asking those questions and curiously and courageously examining your reality, because unlike the world of lies, the world of truth is relaxed and filled with love, joy, and hope. Thank you for listening. If you learned from this video and you want to say thank you, please sponsor this channel with methods listed on the screen and in the video description. Subscribe, like, and share this video. Visit the websites of the artist and the musician I featured in this video. Leave your email address at news.b434.com. Remember about b434.com and join 434 social media on YouTube, Facebook, BitChute, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and VK. Talk to each other on Telegram, Reddit, and Discord. All links below.